If you have enjoyed looking and listening to my books, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. Thank you. Two stories from the Garden Gang, Oliver Onion and Tim Tomato, a Ladybird book, first published in 1979. It was a sunny morning and Oliver Onion got out of his little bed, put on his hat and brightly polished shoes. Oliver Onion had only one boiled egg and a glass of fresh orange juice for his breakfast. Afterwards, he went to the shop to get some ice cream. Because it was very hot, he stripped off his jacket. "Please, may I have a block of..." And then he stopped and looked around at everyone. "Why are you all crying?" he asked. "Oh, I'm sorry," said the shopkeeper, "but what would you like?" Well, both you and I know why they were crying, don't we? Of course, I'm sure you know that onions make you cry, even if you're happy. Well, Oliver Onion knew why they were crying too. Very slowly, he walked out of the shop, feeling terribly ashamed of himself. Suddenly, he had the most extraordinary, colossal idea that he'd ever thought of. He skipped down to the chemist shop with his money in his hand to buy something very special. He gave a small boy the money to go in and get it. "You can keep the change," said Oliver. "Oh, thanks very much," said the boy. When Oliver Onion got home, he went to bed. In the morning, he took out the huge, enormous tin of deodorant he had bought and sprayed some all over himself. He then went to the shop and bought everything he needed. And nobody cried. He came home feeling very pleased, had tea, and went to bed. So if you ever peel or see anyone else peeling onions, remind them and yourself they make you cry. Tim Tomato. Tim Tomato was the jolliest person anyone could ever wish to meet. He was always smiling or laughing, and nobody could stay miserable for long when he was around. Now, our story starts with something being wrong in the greenhouse. Everybody was miserable and nobody ever laughed. Mark Marrow peered sadly through the glass and wondered why his friends were so unhappy. "Oh, if only I could cheer them up," he thought. He tried pulling funny faces to make them laugh and telling funny stories, but nothing seemed to work. They looked more and more miserable. "Oh, the trouble with them," he said, "is they're all bored. They need something new to amuse them." That afternoon, around tea time, Mr. Rake, the gardener, came down to the greenhouse carrying a large brown paper bag. He began to dig a hole in the soil, and all the greenhouse people looked on inquisitively. Mr. Rake took out a young, healthy plant and put it carefully into the hole. Then he watered it and left. As nothing else happened, the greenhouse people soon lost interest and went back to looking miserable. Later, when they went to sleep, they had forgotten all about the new arrival. For 2 weeks, that new plant grew quickly. Then one morning, the greenhouse people awoke to find on the plant a shiny, plump, jolly, red, smiling tomato. "Hello," he said cheerily. "I'm Tim. It's a nice warm morning." But nobody bothered to reply. "Oh dear," said Tim Tomato. "What a miserable place to live. I'll have to do something to cheer them up." So from under a large leaf he pulled out a sketch pad and pencil and began to draw. At once the greenhouse people became curious and began to talk among themselves, wondering whatever he was doing. They waited with long faces, but all the same they were beginning to feel a little excited. As Tim finished his sketch, he began to smile to himself. "What's so funny?" asked Colin the cucumber rudely. "Well, you're not sitting where I am," said Tim Tomato, and he turned his sketch pad around for them all to see. First, when they saw his drawings, they were all quite shocked. There before them were sketches of the greenhouse people with long, miserable faces. Colin Cucumber was first to see the joke, and a smile crept over the other faces, and the smiles turned to giggles and laughter. The next minute the greenhouse exploded with laughter. The greenhouse people rocked about and held their sides. Mark Marrow looked on happily. "Oh, what a clever person Tim Tomato is," he said, as he watched them all, and he thought that now the greenhouse was a very happy place to live.